In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a product which I've been super excited for, and I've wanted something like this ever since my M4 Mac Mini actually came out. So this is by Acasis, and it is an NVMe enclosure, but not like the ones I've previously shown you on the channel. So I've got this one. This is a Thunderbolt 5 one, which is the TB504. And then I've got one here, which is the TB504 Air. This is the Thunderbolt 4 version. Both really good, both super heavy and hefty. These are like solid blocks of metal. But as you can see, I have 4 NVMe drives in here. And because they run independently, I can run them all at the same time at Thunderbolt 5 speeds, which is pretty insane. Not only that, but there's other features in this actual enclosure it can do. So I'm going to show you an unboxing first, what you get in the box. Then we'll go through some speed tests, show you what it's capable of. So in the box, obviously, we get the unit itself, whether it be the Air version or the Thunderbolt 5 version. They do make a third version, which is the Pro version, which is also Thunderbolt 5, but it gives you the possibility of putting in 10 NVMe SSDs in there. And personally, I'm not that rich to have 10 NVMe SSDs, which brings me to a point. With today's pricing of NVMe drives, that's why I say I wish this product came out when my M4 Mac Mini was released, because back then, NVMe drives were a lot more affordable, as opposed to today where the prices are extortionate. So if you're somebody that has a few NVMe drives that you're not utilizing, or you've got them in separate enclosures like I use with these, this might be quite a good thing for you, because you can connect them all to this one enclosure and then use them all on your machine at once at Thunderbolt 5 speeds. However, if you're somebody that has no NVMe SSDs and you're thinking of buying some, maybe hold off now because the prices are so high. Wait a bit until the prices go down. This might not be as much use for you as everyone else. Anyway, you've got the units. We have the charging brick. We have the plug with, of course, the whatever country or region you're from. We have the Thunderbolt 5 cable, which is quite short, but obviously Thunderbolt 5 for the Thunderbolt 5 version, Thunderbolt 4 cable for the Thunderbolt 4 version. Then we've got the rubber little grommet things, whatever you want to call them, for actually attaching the NVMe SSDs and securing them in place in the enclosure. And of course, finally, we have the thermal pads, which are beefy thermal pads, but they are good for keeping the drives nice and cool. And speaking of thermals, obviously this unit doesn't have a fan. It is, like I said, solid block of metal. So this thing itself is a huge heatsink to get heat away from the actual drives. As you can see here, it's got this thin design, which is made to reduce heat in the NVMe drive. So when it goes on top, it's going to make direct contact with the thermal pads with the drives, should take away heat, and it should stop them from actually heating up. But we will test the temperatures later on in the video when we do the actual speed test. What's also cool is the unit actually has PCIe lane switching, which means we can use all of the 4 NVMe SSDs at the exact same time. Using 2 of the SSDs, you should be able to get speeds of over 6,000 megabytes per second, depending on, of course, what the actual NVMe SSD is capable of itself. If you use all 4 at the same time, you might see a slight slowdown in speeds, but that's because it's all running through that 80 gigabit connection for Thunderbolt 5 on the Thunderbolt 5 one. And the same thing goes for the Thunderbolt 4 one, of course, with the different limitations to the speeds. So you'll see slower NVMe speeds than the Thunderbolt 5, and then it's running through that 40 gigabit connection as opposed to the 80 gigabit. Now you can run them both also in RAID if you want through software. I think it's RAID 0, RAID 1 and RAID 10. Me personally, I don't like to run things in RAID. I like them to be their own independent drives that I can use them for their own independent things. Now I think we should run a speed test that way. Instead of just listening to what I'm saying, you can actually see the performance yourself on screen. So let's run a speed test and then we'll get back. I can explain more about the differences between the 2 drives. The first thing I did was test all 4 NVMe SSDs individually in a separate Thunderbolt 5 enclosure, just to get a baseline of the speeds they're actually achieving when they're connected alone to the M4 Pro Mac Mini. Now the averages were, so the 4TB E7400 Oracle gets around 3500 write, 5400 read. The 2TB O7000 Oracle gets around 3500 write, 5700 read. The Western Digital 1TB gets around 3700 write and 2800 read. And then the iGo 256GB, the slowest one of the bunch, at 1700 write and 2300 read. Then what I did, I put them all in the Acasis TB504 enclosure and tested them all running at the exact same time. And what you can see is the Western Digital and the iGo drives both kept the same speeds as when they was tested individually. However, the Oracle drives slightly slowed down, but generally when it comes to read speeds, they're much faster drives anyway. And the temperatures remain quite good, even with only one of the Oracle drives reaching 70 degrees, but it generally runs hotter anyway, even in the enclosure on its own. So I'm pretty happy with the results. Now between the Thunderbolt 4 and the Thunderbolt 5, as well as the obvious speed difference between the two, there are some differences when it comes to the ports as well. So on the Thunderbolt 5 version, you get 3 USB-C ports on the back. One is a host port to connect to your machine of choice, whether it be a Mac Mini, MacBook Pro, whatever it is. And the other 2 are actual 80 gigabit ports, the Thunderbolt 5, that you can use to either connect 2 external monitors at 8K 60Hz maximum, or extra external storage you want to connect to it and run through the system. When it comes to the Thunderbolt 4 version though, on the back you get a USB-A 10 gigabit port to connect extra stuff to. You get one 40 gigabit USB-C port which you can connect one external monitor at 8K 60Hz maximum or another external storage device, and then you get your USB-C host port. So a little bit less ports, but obviously the capabilities between the Thunderbolt 5 and the Thunderbolt 4 version are quite different, with it having half the bandwidth of the Thunderbolt 5 version. Now you can also daisy chain these to connect multiple different devices or multiple different hubs to each other, but I can imagine that can be quite expensive, especially if we're talking about 4 different hubs and then what would be like 12 or 16 NVMe drives. That is going to be super expensive. For me this is super useful because I've got 4 NVMe drives in there, so one of them I actually edit from and I have all my YouTube and video content on. Another one I can use as a backup drive, and because they're connected to the same system and pop up on the machine at the same time, it's super easy to back up my content. And yeah, it just makes it so easy to connect all the different drives and have access to all the different drives at the same time without having to do what I've been doing up till now, which is connecting multiple different external hard drives and enclosures to the machine, and then when I'm not using them, I unplug them to put them away so they're nice and tidy. Now you also can, I believe, run various virtual machines from here because you have different NVMe slots, but that's not something I've personally done. Overall, it's a great piece of tech, and like I said, I really wish it came out back when the M4 Mac Mini was initially released. It would have been awesome, but better late than never. Now all we have to do is wait for NVMe prices to actually drop so more people can take advantage of it, and I can't see that happening anytime soon, so I wouldn't hold your breath. If you want to grab yourself either the normal version, the Air, or even the Pro, remember they are Kickstarter products, so there will be a Kickstarter link in the comments box below as well as the description box. So yeah, if you want to grab it, go check it down there. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing to the channel as it helps more than you know. Like the video if you end up liking it, share it with your friends and family if they're interested in Apple tech and different kind of tech products, and leave a comment down below, would you grab one of these and what would you use it for? As always, I appreciate you watching, I appreciate your support, and I will catch you on the next one.